You guys, can we first and foremost talk about the fact that Baby Yoda is here to save 2020? Do the hand thing, Baby Yoda. Do the hand thing. All right. Unfortunately, not even Baby Yoda can save 2020 because it's a hot mess. But hopefully, he can make it better on October 30th. I'm so excited. Probably will be doing, I don't know, like a video about me reacting to Baby Mandalorian because I expect greatness from them, so it better not disappoint. Unlike Mulan. Yeah, unfortunately, if you're straight up, I'm just gonna let you guys know right now, Mulan is not worth the $30. It's really not. If I would have paid regular movie theater prices, like the IMAX movie theater prices, I would have been very, very upset because it really wouldn't have been worth it. For $5 Tuesdays that AMC does, yeah, that was fine. Bien pagado, you know? But not for this. I'm sorry, it wasn't. I guess I'm going to go into more details about why it wasn't worth it if you guys want to stick around. Maybe because I've already watched it or whatever, but so, all right, let's just get into it. I guess the first thing I want to talk about is Yifei, the actress who portrays Mulan. Wow. She was phenomenal. I mean, she really killed it as Mulan. I mean, I think that's like the best directorial choice that the director made. By picking Yifei, I mean, she embodies what I thought Mulan was and what she represented when I was growing up. I mean, courage, bravery, talking about family orientation, and just a straight up warrior. I mean, she was amazing. I was so happy to see her as Mulan. I mean, every scene that she did was so calculated. I'm so excited for the future of her and just wanting to see like where this movie like hopefully launches her to greatness because she deserves it. I mean, I've already checked out her IMDb. There's like a couple movies I'm already interested in that I'm like, I have to see this because I really want to see her and like her developing her art, and just I'm excited to see that. So if you guys want to see me reviewing some of those movies, definitely comment down below. But just like going back to the Mulan, some of my favorite scenes, my favorite scene has to be the one with her dad, when he's sharpening his sword. I think that's when I really saw the potential of what she was doing and how every decision that she made was so precise. In that scene, you see her trying to dissuade her father from going. You see her accepting the responsibility of what it would mean, and like when he's saying like take care of your mom, take care of your sister, oh my goodness, I mean, you felt that, and she could just be like, I have to do this. She was accepting stepping up to that role. But then when her father's like, be courageous for me, and you're just that's the moment, that split second, I could just see it in her eyes. At least that's when I think she thought she had to decide, okay, this is when Mulan decides that she's going to go to war, or like she's at least considering that option, you know. And it was a split second. Like the whole scene is probably like a minute and a half. Probably it's not a long scene, but again, I think that was just her brilliance, and it was all through looks. You know, she didn't talk; she just made it, and it also resonated the significance and the importance of like what her father was doing, and it was so well done. And it didn't have to be spoken, which is another one of my biggest critiques about this thing, was the fact that there was just too many things that were spoken. When I'm like, this is a movie, you don't have to speak these things, you can just show it, you don't have to say them. But just going back to her, I want to also talk about like her fighting sequences. I mean, obviously, whoever choreographed these fighting sequences did a good job. It was really well done. I mean, every single fight, when she was fighting Hong Wei, which is, let's just be real here, he's just Li Shang. They just decided to bring him down one. I don't know why they decided to do that, but he was just Li Shang. And then when she's doing like that scene in the animated movie as well, where like the snow is falling and she's like, and then the live action, she reveals her true identity. She's like, oh, this is me, Mulan, versus in the other one they kind of catch her. But anyways, but even in that fighting sequence, she was amazing at it. I liked the way she portrayed coming back home I didn't like the way it was written when she came back home at the end of the war and was like kind of like apologizing to her father and being like, I'm sorry. I didn't like it the way it was written, but I loved her. I thought she was amazing. Yes, so if you're gonna watch this movie, honestly, just expect an amazing actress doing a subpar role, like a not that well written role, because she was amazing. And I'm excited for the future to come for her. All right. The next thing I want to talk about, you guys, is the the new characters, which all the new characters honestly are just instead ofs in the movie. So we already talked about Hung Wei. He's instead of Li Shang. Then we have the general, who's a more seasoned gentleman, which I understand why they ended up doing that, because it didn't make sense to have like a young guy being the general of an army, even if it wasn't like the best army or anything. So I'm like, I understood that. I was like, okay, so that's like, I got that. So I was like, all right. So, but we have instead of like Li Shang's position. And then we have Boris Kong instead of Shan Yu. And then we have a Phoenix, which instead of Mushu. And then finally, instead of like, I don't even know what it is. Is it a vulture? The bird that hangs out on Shan Yu's um, shoulder in the animated version is actually a woman. And I don't know where we've seen that before. I mean, where have we seen a woman taking place of an animal? I wonder. But I digress. So I think I'm gonna start first with the Phoenix. I love Mushu, and I really thought he was funny. He was great. Was I disappointed to hear that he wasn't gonna appear in the new Mulan? Yes, but it wasn't the most heartbreaking thing, because this Mulan, at least via the trailers, gave us the illusion that it was gonna be more serious, and so it was gonna be a change of tone. They were even taking away all the beautiful, amazing songs. Which the one good thing I'll also say about this is that they added the elements of the songs into there, just like, the acoustic version. It's not the acoustic version, anyways, but instrumental version of the music in the background during certain scenes. That obviously these things happen, so I really did appreciate that. But there's just the Phoenix. It was a horrible metaphor. I mean, it was just, I understood like what the artistic element was supposed to represent, but if you really wanted to do that, it didn't have to be so prominent. Like, you could have done the shadow of the Phoenix, and like she would just see this, and she wouldn't even know if it's real. And towards the end, the Phoenix could have become real when like the Emperor offers her the position again. I think that would have been a smarter choice if you really wanted to add the element of the Phoenix in there, but it wasn't necessary. It was just a cheesy metaphor that it was a fact that they would draw onto this metaphor over and over again. It was just tedious and just annoying and just a waste of time that we could have spent watching other moments in the movie. Anyways, but so I didn't like him. I don't understand why they changed Boris Khan's name. I mean, Shan Yu's name to Boris Khan. I didn't understand that either. And why instead of we got a different type of army instead of the Hun army. I mean, I didn't understand. I mean, that might be more, I guess, cultural significance, because, again, go back to Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast deals, again, like the live action. Supposedly it's after the plague. And she's probably, 18, 16? So 18 years after the plague, about, give or take. So that's when the timeline of that. So if they're trying to give this a specific timeline, because we're talking about the Silk Roads, I guess that's why I'm not too into, I'm not really that familiar with Chinese history. I should really do that for myself, for my own benefit. But if that's the reason why I decided to make that change, fine. I'm here for it, but whatever. Okay, so I'm not going to touch too much on that. Hung Wei, I mean, also the general, fine. Hung Wei, I didn't mind him either, I didn't mind, like, I did like that. I actually did like that new character instead of Li Shang, because I guess their romance was more realistic, just because like they're like two soldiers in the army, they're talking, they're getting to know each other, like they're training together. I understood that romance a lot better than Li Shang. So that was another props to the movie. I was like, all right, I see what you guys did there, like demoting him, making them equals. I got that. I appreciated that. That was a good element. But now we just go into the Bird Woman. Oh my goodness. This was like the most unnecessary character. I mean, I hated this character. I didn't understand why they created her except to represent, I guess, the limitations of women of that time. The fact that that's why I'm going to become evil because of that reason. I guess I understand. And they go into her backstory of how she was exiled and now she's become like the slave to this man, even though he's like, you will no longer just be a dog, you will be there existing. He doesn't even promise her like a seat at the table. He just says you would be allowed in the kingdom without any like, I'm like, what would she be, like a commoner? Would she be in your court? Like, what does that mean to you? Also she's a witch, which like, what are you? And it was just so frustrating. I was like, you are pointless. I mean, and then they made her like this weird hero version because first she leads Mulan to the bad guy towards the end of the movie, and then she takes a arrow for Mulan. And I'm like, I don't know what the purpose of you was. Like, I understand what you did and like how you were eventually supposed to be like not like the Snape of this, like pretty much that's what she was. She was like Severus Snape for Mulan in the version of Mulan. That was pretty much the same story. Like they really took in elements of Harry Potter, didn't they, in this movie? I mean, but again, it wasn't well done. I just thought she was like an unnecessary character. I mean, if you really needed someone to help Mulan, why couldn't it just be someone who was under Boris Khan's regimen and just realized, oh, he doesn't represent goodness, or I don't know, I don't know. I guess I didn't like that either. So I'm sorry. Like, then like women helping women. I understood what they were trying to do. Like, I'm like, I understand what you're doing. I just hate what you're doing. Like, it's just, again, it was like the Phoenix. It was just like, again, unnecessary, and it wasn't well done. It wasn't creatively done. It wasn't a good metaphor. Like, it just, and they didn't spend enough time on it. I was like, you guys spent more time on the Phoenix, animating the Phoenix, than you did creating this witch and creating her backstory and making her like a more prominent and more developed character. I just didn't like her at all. Oh, you know what we didn't talk about, you guys, was her sister. All I'll say about this is they should have. What was the point of her? What was the point of the sister? What, she had no purpose. I would have rather had an old lady giving her the cricket, and like, the old lady would have been cute and adorable and would have brought wisdom, comforting words to her son when her daughter ran away to the army. Like, I just think, I'm like, why did you put in a sister who apparently knew Mulan was going into the army and didn't stop her sister? Like, I'm like, do you understand what was happening here? Like, honestly, they just made her stupid, because I'm like, why would you be supporting your sister going into war? I'm like, yes, she could be saving your father, or she'd be killing herself and her father, because what if like the army was like, oh, your daughter tried to sneak into this army, like finding her out, and then so, you know what, not only are we going to kill her, we're going to force you still to come in and join the army, because they could have gone that route. So I just didn't understand why her sister let her go to war. That just didn't make any sense. Like, she didn't bring any of the old teachings or the wisdoms. All right. I guess the next thing I want to talk about is the plot. The plot was just, and the worst part about this plot was the fact that the plot was already written. You literally had to copy and paste. That's all you needed to do. Copy and paste. But you somehow managed to screw that up. Because we have see the scene where like Mulan takes where Mulan reveals herself as a woman. She's so conflicted by her tremendous lie, and again, it just didn't seem realistic. I'm like, the main reason why she does this lie in the animated version, they made it very clear. The main reason she does this is because she's doing it for her father, you know? And then, of course, she has this confession moment with Mushu where she's like, and I also did it for me. I did it to prove a point, to prove that I wanted to see someone in the mirror. Like, you know, that's what it was. And when she ends up revealing herself, it was like she wanted to take credit, which doesn't seem very Mulan-esque, which is why I didn't like that writing, because Mulan wouldn't want to take credit for being for doing this kick-ass stuff. That's not why she's doing it. She's doing it because she thinks it's the right thing to do. She has a specific moral compass. And it just like, and I just don't think that her overwhelming guilt, like, I just think that didn't leave any gray areas. Like, I think a lot of the times that sometimes movies and in general, especially for kids, it's important to leave gray areas for them so that they understand that the world isn't black and white. So the fact they were like pushing this to like don't lie theme, I just don't like that. I was like, you know, she's lying for a good cause, you know? She's not perfect. And that's what also makes Mulan an imperfect character. They were just trying to make this character a little bit too perfect. And I'm like, you can't make her perfect because nobody is perfect. Also, first of all, her dad tells her a flower that blooms in the adversity blooms brighter. And that phrase is so important because she goes through so much adversity. First of all, another thing was during the training, she was already good at the training, you know, because she had to send her chi. Like, I understand. Okay, this is like, we're going back to Star Wars, The Force Awakens, when Rey didn't have the formal training and she was already a great Jedi. That doesn't make any sense. You need those moments. You need your rocky moments, beating up Calmy in the freezer, running up those steps, you know, monumental moments. You need the Mulan, like, going from almost being kicked out of the army for not being a good soldier to being like this one of the best soldiers out there. You know, I would have wanted to see that, but like throughout the whole movie, like throughout the whole like training camp moment, we don't see her struggling. We see her killing it. And it didn't make sense because let's be real here. She's a woman, so she's probably not been training. I mean, yes, has she probably been meditating, working on her chi like she did when she was a kid? Probably in secret, but still hasn't refined those skills enough so she can actually beat Hung Wei, which not at that point. And it didn't make sense for her to already know all these skills and already know kind of like how to act as a man if she was still struggling. Like, I just, like, she was still in training. Like, it just didn't make sense. I was like, what are you doing? And then the other adversity part where she had no adversity was when she comes back after they kick her out of the army. Also, how did he not almost kill her? Like, that's what made the original Mulan. First of all, she saves his life, so a life for a life, and that's what he's saying, because a woman who joins the army is by penalty of death, you know? And so he's like, a life for a life, you know? That's so important. That's an important moment to have. And yet he's just lets her go out of the kindness of his heart. I just think that that's not realistic. Again, because Mulan should have been darker and not a weird PG movie, which was even PG. Like, it wasn't even as dark as the animated version. And then when she comes back, they just straight up believe her. Like, for a second, he's like, I'm kind of down to you, Mulan. And then he's like, you know what? I believe you. And everyone believes her. And, you know, and Mushu makes it prominent. He's like, you know, you are a woman. And during this time, because it is a timepiece. So it just didn't make sense why Mulan, like, just had no adversity at all. She had no qualms. Like, I don't know. This director was focusing too much on the Phoenix and too much on the Bird Lady to really focus on the key emotional aspects of Mulan, which are very important to the story. It's just, like, again, it just didn't make sense. Like I have very strong feelings about this Mulan because it wasn't properly executed. It could have been such an amazing film had they not tried to not focus so much on the, like, surrealism of it all and just focus on, like, the main story, which is just a woman going into battle to save her father's life, going against tradition, and also trying to find herself. And it seemed like Mulan throughout this movie already knew who she was. She was like, I am a warrior. And I'm like, honey, how would you know you're a warrior? You're a woman in this time. Like, I think we also have to focus on, like, this is the time period that it's at. It is a timepiece, you guys. Makes sense. Also, I don't know if anyone else is gonna agree with me. I think Poe should have died. Like, I should. Let me explain. Because the thing was, I'm like, it's a war. People gotta die, okay? I know we saw like that whole like battle scene, like where it was dark and twisty, and it was like that scene was. I understand it was better in the animated version. It really was. Like, I was just like, I don't feel as sad. I don't feel as heartbroken as I did when I watched the animated version. Because first of all, they just started walking by like death and destruction. We didn't even get to see their faces. Like, and they're like, and again, what was so pivotal moment in the animated version was the fact that they were walking, they were singing about a girl worth fighting for. They were like having a good time. Okay, and then they see it. They see the death. They see destruction. And for a lot of them, it probably is their first encounter with death. And it's also a reality that they're facing. They're like, oh, if this happened to seasoned soldiers, experienced soldiers, imagine our little regime. And it hit them. It was like such, in 1 second, in one scene, in one facial expression, the animated version did that. Versus this, they were just focusing too much on the death and destruction. Like, that scene was so much more than just death and destruction. It was also the soldiers understanding what they were going to be going into.
Another thing about Mulan was the fact that the costume design. I mean, to end on a lighter note, I have to say that the costume design was amazing. The colors, the imagery, it it was very powerful. I mean, when you think of bravery, you think of Gryffindor, and of course, Gryffindor is red, and so, like I said, they really took a lot from Harry Potter. But I don't know. But it was just so well done. I love the colors that they picked. I loved her dress that they ended up using for the matchmaker scene. I just love the hair and makeup. I really thought that every little detail for that was very profound. I mean, and her transformation into a man, like, you don't really recognize her, and she really does be able to like become like that character Ping, which she's called something else in the live action, was really well done. Like that, like I said, hair and makeup did an excellent job. Costume design was amazing, was spectacular. The colors, the imagery, everything was just on point. The set design, beautiful, beautiful set design. I mean, all of that was perfect. I can't say anything about that. And that's the note that I want to end. And I want to end on the fact that Mulan was beautifully done. Like, beautifully, the visual was beautiful. Story, no. But the visual aspect, gorgeous. Just maybe watch the movie in on mute. And then you'll be like, oh, this movie's amazing. And then create your own dialogue. Or just put in the dialogue from the original. But yes, I gotta say, the imagery, the significance of like little details like that was beautiful.
So I guess that's it for this review. Just a reminder that the new Yu-Gi-Oh packs are coming out, that I will be opening those up with you guys hopefully Thursday, if my OTS store gets them in time. Also, if you guys, also the makeup that I'm currently wearing is Mulan. I got it from ColourPop and the Hot Topic palette, so I've kind of mixed those two together today. So if you guys want me to do a review about that, leave a comment down below. Anything else you guys want to review? Any more of the live action movies you guys want me to review? I'd love to do that. As you guys can probably tell, my favorite is Beauty and the Beast. That's, for me, the best live action that Disney has done thus far, and that should be the goal. And I really thought Mulan would be the new goal. I really thought Mulan was gonna surpass Beauty and the Beast, but sadly, Beauty and the Beast is still the best. Yeah, so if there's any other topic you guys want me to cover, leave a comment down in the section below. I'm probably also going to be doing a review on Yu-Gi-Oh! The series, and also the movie, because I just watched it. It was amazing. Probably that's coming out next week. I don't know when, whether it's Monday or Tuesday, one of those days. So keep a lookout for that. And thank you guys for watching your Resident Nerdy Girl channel. See you guys next time.